So welcome to part 2 of my testimony about how I came to Canada. So in my last video, I left off at the point where I finally arrived in Canada, and at the immigration checkpoint, I was asked for my study permit, which I later found out I did not have. Apparently that's not the Canadian student visa, it's another document. So the immigration officer told me to go inside. I parked and I went inside, and at this time I was so exhausted. I was just feeling so overwhelmed. I had been driving from 6 o'clock the day before, and based on what I shared, just the many hurdles I was going through at that last minute, it was just really overwhelming. I didn't have anything to eat. I was just over it. So when I arrived inside, another immigration officer, a lady, she was at the window that I was called up to, and when I went up to her, I explained to her that I was coming as a student, and the immigration officer outside told me to come inside to see if they would be able to assist me with my study permit. So she said, okay, she took my stuff and she was checking. Apparently she could see my documents online, and she looked at me and she said to me, you have done everything right. And she was basically just giving me some advice about when I'm finished with school, or should I decide to take a break from school, what should happen if I'm finished with school and I want to stay in Canada, that I should go back online just as I did with the application for my student visa, and I should use that portal to apply for everything in the future. But she was like, you have done everything right. And then she said, I can see that the letter to support your application for a study permit was mailed out. It was mailed out to your address in New York. So how the process works is that after you get the visa, a document, a letter is mailed out to you. Once you get that letter, you take it to your closest immigration office, and they will process the study permit for you there. However, I can see your letter now. I can see that it was mailed out. My supervisor is here, so I'm going to go and talk to my supervisor and see if my supervisor will be able to help you with just approving your study permit now, right? She just needs to put her signature on it. So let me go check and see if she would be willing to do that. And then she went and she spoke to her supervisor. She came back and she said she has agreed, she has signed it. So you don't have to go back through this. You don't have to wait for the letter to come back here or go to another border checkpoint. Once you get that letter, just tear it up and throw it in the bin. You don't need it anymore. And I was like, thank you, Jesus. And she just really pretty encouraging. God bless her. That was it. I jumped in the car and I drove. I remember because going to university in Jamaica, right? Like there's one UTech campus, there's one UWI campus. So I didn't know that in foreign, you have more than one campus per school. So when I typed in the name of my college, it showed me this campus, and I hit go on the GPS, and I drove for another 3-4 hours to get there. By the time I got there, the work day was finished. But when I got there and I was asking at one of the desks, I don't even remember, but I know that the person told me that I was basically at the wrong campus, right? The campus that I needed to be at. And she told me it's this one. So she told me I didn't have to worry about going in that day. I could just go the next day for my classes and then drop my documents off. So when I went into school the Thursday, I went on down to the office to register as an international student that I have arrived. And God is so good, because in God's goodness, I found out that they had a cutoff point for when persons could start late, and that date was dependent on your study permit. Now, God in his goodness knew that before I left New York. And because God knew that, he made preparations that I would get to the border and I would get my study permit without having the necessary documents, because that's the favor of God, right? So when they took my study permit, the day that was on the study permit was the cutoff day that they would be allowing registration, because I was pretty late for school, right? Another thing that I now needed to tackle, because I was so late, there's an English test that was required to determine whether I do college English or I would have to do beginner's English. I was so late, I missed the date for that test. And when I got settled, I decided that I was going to see if I could go to the area where they get the testing sorted and see if I could speak to someone, because I did college English in Jamaica in university. I don't think I needed to be in beginner's English. I found the directions, I followed it well, and I got to this office and I was explaining to the lady why I was there, and she told me, this is not the office to help you. And I said, but on the website it says this is where I should come. So she says, well, this is not the place. So I said, okay. She told me where to go. And as I was leaving, she said, you know, there's not much going on here, so let me walk you down to the office. And we walked down together, just let the chit chatter there. When we went down to the international students office, because she's a staff, I had access. So instead of having to stop at the information desk to explain to someone in that department what it is that I wanted and asking them to help me to find someone to speak with, she had access. So because I went with her, I walked past the information desk and we went together in the area where the offices are. And so she was gonna walk with me to find someone for me to talk to. And as we went around the back area where the offices were, we came across this gentleman. And so she stopped and they greeted each other and he introduced himself and she's like, oh, it's so nice to finally meet you. I always get the emails with the name, but I never had a face to put the name to. So it's nice to finally meet you. And they, chitter-chatter, and then she explained to him, this student, she's an international student. She just started, she missed her English exam, and she would like to know who it is that she can speak with, who would be able to help her with rescheduling, if possible, without having to pay another date. And the gentleman says, well, I am the person, so I will take over from here. I can help the young lady. And he took me in his office. And while we were sitting in his office, I saw on his desk that he's the director, right, for the program. And so, or for the international students department, he's the director. And I found out that he is the person that would need to make the decision about whether or not I would have been allowed to retake the test without having to pay for it. And we had good conversations, and he said to me, I'm gonna go next door and speak to my assistant and let her know that I sent you to schedule so that she can book you for the next available date that the test will be offered. And so by the time I get there, he already told her that I was coming over. And so she pretty much booked me for the test. And just like that, I was able to do the test, pass the test, which was expected. Didn't have to be paying for college English, and didn't need to spend all that time in beginner's English. And in all of it, I was able to see the hand of God moving on my behalf, because that is the faithfulness of God. That is the goodness of God, right? So it might seem sometimes as if you're being delayed or you're being held back, but God is able to, when he gets you there, to move every blockage, to move every hurdle out of the way, to show you his goodness, to show you his faithfulness. As I'm speaking now, I'm reminded of the story of Lazarus, which is a story that is near and dear to my heart. And so when Lazarus was dead and Jesus said, this, as a matter of fact, before, when Jesus heard that Lazarus was sick, right? Jesus said, this sickness is not unto death, but for God to be glorified. And so some of the times we may face situations in our lives that seems uncrossable. It seems impossible. Some of the times you're trying to get from point A to point B and it's so overwhelming. And so I just want to encourage you today that it's not to stop you. It's not there to deter you. It's not there to discredit you, but it's for the glory of God to be shown in your life. And so if you will just decide to partner with God, if you will just decide to trust God, if you will just decide that no matter come what may, no matter how challenging, how difficult the situation is, you're going to trust God and you're going to keep putting your best foot forward and you're going to surrender everything to God and you're going to keep showing up and doing what needs to be done. If you need to cry, cry. If it's frustrating and you're frustrated, it's expected to feel those ways. If you feel overwhelmed, that's okay too. The important thing is that you keep going in faith. Keep trusting God. Some of the times when God calls us to step out, it's not a smooth journey. It's not a smooth process. Because let me tell you, I arrived in Canada in 2019, September, and by March 2020, there was COVID and there was global lockdown, right? Just like that. And that in and of itself was just another set of challenges, right? But through it all, I trusted God, and God has blessed me in so many ways in this land. So I just want to encourage you, it doesn't matter what it is that you're going through, what it is that you're struggling through, you're working through, trust God. Keep showing up, keep getting up, keep praying, and keep stepping out in faith. Delay is not denial, right? Delay is not denial. Delay is not denial. But God is faithful to do that which He has promised. This sickness, this situation is not unto death, but it is for God to be glorified. So I hope that this testimony was a blessing to you. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. God's willing. Do take care. Bye.